Go live, it says. I can't go live. My glasses need to be cleaned. I mean, I can't see anything. Hmm. But it's that time again. Well, hello, the good people. Hi, it's Jason with Greencatcher Agroforestry here. I can't see you, but hopefully you can see me. It's Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m., and that means it's time for yet another live stream. And tonight I am getting some sweat off of my glasses because I've been out in the backyard digging daylilies all day. How fun and exciting. That's actually only half true. I've been spending most of the day getting ready to dig daylilies, and I did a little bit of daylily digging. So I guess maybe tomorrow we'll get more of the actual work done. Today it was just prep work, um, raking all the leaves and junk out of the space that I'm going to be working in to make it easier to find the plants and their roots, pulling out vines and fun stuff like that. Yay! Ah, Vicky's saying she may be 3/4 asleep, but looking forward. Is it that late? Oh yes. Yeah, oh yeah, it's getting darker out earlier, isn't it? I actually, before I came in here, I stopped and made a trip by the bathroom to wash my hands and such, but I had to. I was just handling raw eggs. I went out to the duck hut and ran the ducks inside, gave them the all ducks go to bed routine. They went in, of course, as usual. They laid a few extra in the yard, which brings the total egg count up to, for people that want to know the egg count, we have 8 ducks. Total egg count. I've seen prepper nurse do a contest like this. Total egg count was 5 for the day. At least 5 that I found. There were three in the hut this morning, and then they dropped 2 in the yard that I found as I was putting them away. Okay. Got little bugs running across the camera lens there. I don't know why. They're all coming out right now. Okay. So we're out doing the work in the yard, and let me tell you what we've been up to. Digging daylilies, obviously, but the place where I'm digging them is right at the fence row on the very northwest side of the property. It's a place that we don't really take the camera to very often because it's an area it's not very well manicured. Would be a pleasant way of saying it. It's an area that I haven't really brought under management yet. That would be a probably more diplomatic way of saying it. There are a lot of areas in the yard that I have not quite gotten the entire agroforestry thing going on like you see behind me. There's still areas where there's a lot of grass. There's still areas that need some work. In some cases, they need a lot of work, and I'm just slowly expanding as we go. It's a total of a third acre. I'm doing a little bit of it at a time as we go along, and eventually, yes, this entire property will be in a very nice, pretty forest garden. Parts of it are nice and pretty now. Parts of it will be nice and pretty in the future, and the part that's coming up that you'll be seeing a lot more of. I showed a couple of still photos in a normal post, a regular community post, I think yesterday. We've done more of that, uh, getting the hedgerow cleared out, and we've planted daikon radish, sugar beet, sunflower, safflower, buckwheat, elephant trunk amaranth. Um, Shoot, I was going to throw out some additional seeds, but I don't think I put them in my pocket. I was planning to. We're getting ready to put out some of these. This Passiflora Cerealia type of passion fruit back there. If the hedgerow wants to grow vines, I figured maybe we should just supply some vines back there that it can enjoy. But while we're doing all that work, I've also been trying to focus on the larger project, and of course, I mentioned previously the sort of dream that I have for the backyard. Talking about it made me realize a few things. I need to write down what it is that I want to accomplish back there. So I wrote down a list, but I won't bore you with the details of that just a moment. Really quick, before we get started, I wanted to make a quick apology to Faith, who placed an order for corn seeds with us a couple of weeks ago. Uh, I had an issue with the address that she gave us. It was PO box plus a street address, and I was like, "Which one is it?" And I don't know where I'm supposed to send it to. As a result, it didn't ship on the Monday that it would have shipped. She got a hold of me, I think later on that night, or the very next day through email. I said, "Oh, it's small town, and I gave you both because it depends upon how you do the shipping, whichever way works for you." I was like, "Wow, that confused me." So I said, "Okay, well I'm going to ship to the PO box." And then next Monday rolls around, was when I usually do the shipping, and it turns out that that's a holiday for some reason. Communist or something came up with a reason to give themselves a holiday, so I couldn't use the post office. So the shipment is going to go out on this next Monday, coming up this week. But I decided, I don't feel great about waiting 3 weeks to ship these corn seeds to you, even though, yeah, she's not going to be able to plant them until spring anyway. It's just, I should have a more rapid response. Now, ordinarily, let me show you this. It's a kind of a blue-green colored shipping envelope, so I can tilt it so you can see more of the blue than the green, and I have to switch off the green screen. Ordinarily, we use a shipping envelope that's about like this size, right, for shipping seeds in. It's a little less expensive than a box, but just in case, Faith, if you're watching this on replay, this is what you're getting instead. Let me get this out of the way. Since we are getting ready to reopen, or actually have reopened sales of daylilies, woohoo, they're back in the catalog. I went ahead and decided that since we're 3 weeks late getting your order to you for, of course, big horse spotted corn, we'll go ahead and throw in a couple of door prizes. So here's 1 dozen Egyptian walking onions, ordinarily $15. Maybe 20 with the inflation going on by the time we get around to actually selling them again next year. All right. We've got 4 Everbearing Strawberry. Currently $15. I mean, if the big stores will sell 1 strawberry plant to you for $5, I can give you 4 for $15. I think that's fair. Same thing goes for Hemerocallis fulva, daylilies. Here they are, all packaged up and ready to go. 4 plants, usually $15. So we've got for 3 weeks delay, we've got 3 additional packages, each worth about $15. I hope you enjoy them. They're coming out to you on Monday. All right. So what is Mary saying? No more truck stop food. Oh. Oh, that's what's making you sleepy, is the truck stop food? Yeah. All right. Which canna the hummingbirds like best? I will not be able to ship cannas until we're approaching spring. As spring is coming upon us, I'll keep an eye out for the more southern regions and open up sales or shipping of cannas at that point. At the moment, I don't know how many I'm going to have to sell yet. I was thinking about opening up a pre-order on some of the trees, because I do know how many we're going to have of certain of those. We've got, I believe it's 10 pecan trees. We've got, I know we should have more pecan trees, but I got 10. We've got at least that many red buds and black locust trees. Right. That's it. This is the reason I suspended the daylily sales, is because I use the U.S. Postal Service to ship things. Sometimes they leave things in post offices or in mailboxes, and whenever it's really, really hot out, that's a good way to cook your plants, and you wind up with dead plants, and nobody wants to buy dead plants. I certainly don't want to ship replacements for dead plants. I mean, that's expensive. So just don't ship them when it's too hot out. So now that we've hit September, boom, daylilies are back on again, and we're selling them. We have the same prices that we did in the springtime. I haven't inflated them. Come springtime next year, yeah, they probably will go up, because that's just the way things are. But for right now, we still have 2000 and 2020 prices for daylilies. All right. Vicky says, problem with the local post. Oh, yeah. It's hard to find good help these days. Well, good evening. Good evening. Tonight's beverage is actually coffee. I know, right? It's coffee with some milk and a touch of cinnamon stick in the pot. It's getting that time of year where we want to use mulling spices on our warm beverages. I don't have to have the air conditioner running. Is it quiet? Does it sound quiet to you? It sounds quiet to me. I can almost hear myself think. I don't know what to do with myself. All right. So we ran out there to the hedgerow. We cleared everything out. Planted up with daikon radish, with sugar beet, with sunflower, safflower, buckwheat, and elephant trunk amaranth. I don't expect all of those to germinate and grow. The daikon radish and the sugar beet certainly will during the cool season. Some of the other things might come up a little bit, produce some biomass, and then die off, and that'll be fine. So as long as we have roots in the ground doing something, and it's not the species that I don't want, then I'm happy. I found a couple of spots where there's still some rodents running around back there, so I took a handful of castor beans. Castor bean plants are now producing seeds, by the way. I don't know how many we have yet, so I'm holding off on putting the castor bean seeds up for sale on our website. Whenever I figure out how many we have and what a reasonable market price is for them, then I'll probably add castor beans to the catalog. But for the moment, I'm running around and putting them in the places where the rodents have been digging. So I'll take a rod and poke a hole into a rodent tunnel and drop a castor bean in there, and then come down a few feet and do the same thing. Either the castor beans are going to run the rodents off, or they're going to germinate and grow a new castor bean plant right in the middle of the rodent tunnel, and that may run the rodents off too. One way or another, we are going to get the rodents to leave our garden alone, or at least be diminished in number to the point where it's one or two of them every now and then is okay. Having them show up and eat everything is not going to happen again. It's just not going to work. So, Mary's saying the plants are red and tall, Castro bean. Yeah, they get pretty big, and they're very showy. All right. Let's see. I was talking about dreams the other day. Wrote down a few things. All right. Things that we need to get accomplished. Things I want to see accomplished. We need to get a woodshed built. We need to get a sunroom built so we can transform the front porch into a sunroom. This is kind of the idea. It's the one place where we get quite a bit of sun in the morning, and at least a little bit during the day during the winter when the sun is kind of low to the south. It's one spot where we can actually get a fair amount of sunshine. The only problem is it's an open porch. So one of the plans that we have is to build a framework on the inside of the porch. We can put a wire screen on the outside of the framework, usually 2x4s. Put a wire screen on the outside, and then attach it to the roof of the door frame over here on the one side, and then to the ceiling of the door frame, and then to the ceiling and the wall on the opposite side. So it'll go around the porch on the inside of the porch. We can fix a screen door onto it. And then on the inside of that, we'll tack up plastic sheeting during the winter, and I can bring out an oil heater, one of those electric heaters, and it has the oil that circulates inside. I got a little one over here. No open flame, no carbon monoxide or anything like that. And we put that out there and keep that area heated up during the worst of the winter. And I can get plants started out there, and I can get trees started from cuttings out there that I was not able to do before, because some of the stuff you really do need a cold frame or a greenhouse or something, and we've been kind of lacking in that area. So the method that I experimented with this past winter and sort of accidentally figured out, oh, this is how I need to go about multiplying my mulberry trees, because I've got a really nice productive red mulberry tree out there. Um, I need to be able to put those into an area like a greenhouse or a sunroom or something like that. So this will help us with that area. The woodshed, of course, is a preamble to another project, because it's kind of two projects in one. Not only, well, actually, it's more than two projects. It's more like three projects in one. Not only do we need a place to put wood for our wood stove. Currently, we've been putting it under the carport and on the porch next door, because it's a covered porch. But we want to remove the carport and the garage because they're an eyesore and hideous, and would be too expensive to repair. So it'd be easier just to tear them down and get rid of them. We're planning on removing that and using that concrete pad for other things in the future. Maybe putting a greenhouse over there, for example, or building a better duck enclosure than the sheet metal shed that we're currently using. All kinds of things that we can do once we have that area cleared out. But before that, I need a place where I can put our firewood so it doesn't get rained on, so it can cure, so it can stay dry. But not only that, I need a place where I can hang our corn and our garlic and the other things that need to cure in season. And having a screened in area with wire cloth on the outside of it to keep the rodents out, to keep the grasshoppers out, because grasshoppers have been going up on the porch. They've been eating the corn hanging up there. So whenever it comes time for me to harvest seed corn, I have to go around the parts that have been eaten by the grasshoppers. I've lost a certain amount, probably about maybe 10-15%. Even after harvesting, we lost some. That's kind of discouraging. I want to avoid that in the future. So the woodshed will include enough headspace to allow us to hang and dry the corn in there and the garlic in there and everything else that we need to cure. The roof of the woodshed gives us a location where we can put up a few solar panels to charge up a solar battery bank uh, using these little 12-volt EV batteries. Since they're small, modular, easy to replace, we can have a nice big stack of those. Also, once again, in the woodshed. So we have the ability to operate all of the necessary pumps and other things that we're going to want a little bit later on down the line. That goes into dreaming big, and sharing the dream. Part of the other reason that you do it is once you hear it coming out of your mouth, you want to see if it makes sense. And also, this lets you plan and think about, okay, what can I realistically do? And where do I start? Because let's face it, a lot of us have huge dreams and lots of ambitions and things that we'd love to see get done, but we have no idea where to start. And the only reason we're going to find out, or the only way we're going to find out where we're going to start on them, is by sitting down, putting pencil to paper, talking about what it is that you want to accomplish, and then seeing what it looks like. Let's see. Jan is asking, what kind of rodents? Chipmunks, voles. The main problem we're having is gophers at the moment. Gophers like to eat onions and garlic and sweet potatoes and all the stuff that I like to eat. I love my root veggies, and gophers love them too. So we've been trying a variety of different methods to control gophers. Obviously, I've got cats running around. Some of them like to hunt gophers. The old one that was good at it, he's getting toothless, so he's not going to be good for much longer. Hopefully, one of the new kitties that's been hanging out will take up his job and sit there patiently by a gopher hole, waiting for one of them to poke their nose out so he can grab a quick snack. There's a lot of meat on a gopher, by the way. But anyway, castor beans is one thing we're using. We're also using mint plants. And I've been using hardware cloth under some raised beds specifically to sequester the onions and the garlic and stuff like that from the gophers. But eventually, once we've managed to make the entire yard unpleasant for the rodents to be in, and they depart, what do we do with all the cement blocks? And I already have a plan for the cement blocks. It's kind of a long-term goal thing. I was talking about building a wall on the north side of the garden and on the west side of the garden. So the north and west sides would have a cement block wall. Part of the cement blocks can come from the garage, because we're going to demolish the garage. Part of the cement blocks can come from those raised beds that we've been building because we won't need them anymore. And then comes the question, well, what do we do in the places where the raised beds were? Ooh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Don't you just hate the rats? Oh, man. Yeah, they get hungry. They eat everything. That's not bad. So, okay, so the first cup that I put together, a little bit of dust in there. I used powdered cinnamon, right? I put a little powdered cinnamon, cream, and coffee. But for the pot full, I put a cinnamon stick in. And so I get the cinnamon flavor, but no dust. Huh? Oh, yeah. It's like coming home and discovering that your door is open and all the drawers in your desk have been pulled out and papers are all over the floor and things are in a disarray and you're looking around and going, oh my gosh, what did they take? And you can tell things are missing, but you don't know the extent of the damage yet. It's like hits you right there. Yeah. That's what it's like whenever you have an infestation of rats or gophers and you saw all those beautiful vines growing out from your sweet potatoes, right? And then all the stalks of your garlic, all the stalks of your onions, they're all sitting out there, and you're like, okay, everything's good. And you get close to harvest time, you go, all right, you come out, and then you notice that there aren't as many there. They've been disappearing. One day, Mary and I were out there standing next to an onion. It was either an onion or a garlic, and we were filming, just not pointed the camera right that direction. But there's a rustling sound behind us. I think Mary had her phone pointed in that direction. She caught part of the actions. One of those plants just went down into the ground, and I turned around a second later and just to see it disappearing into a hole. They grabbed the entire plant and just took it. Little boogers. We've been at war ever since. Been at war with the rodents ever since. There was a groundhog family that was taking up residence under one of the sheds for a while. We finally ran them off, and hopefully we can keep them from coming back. Hopefully the mint and the castor beans will help with that also. All right. So I knew there were things that we wanted to get done. So I wrote down a list, and this is what we came up with. I need to start out by building the woodshed. That's number one. Before we can get anything else done, I need the woodshed. As long as I'm getting the woodshed done, we're getting the stuff for the sunroom, and also totes and peat moss to store cannas in. Totes and peat moss to store our canna roots in. We've got a great crop. No, you can see the picture behind me, right? They're even bigger and taller now. They've gotten bigger since this picture was taken. They're getting huge. Those flowers are over 9 foot tall now. They're immense. These things are massive. And there's hummingbirds all over them in the morning. It's great. But these particular cannas that we're growing, mainly we're growing them for the edible rhizomes, the edible roots. Big, huge, massive tubers. Lots of them. These things are about, I'm trying to hold my hand, about that big around. And they don't care about sun. They're not even particularly worried about excess fertility. They just want lots of water and they want heat. They want heat. Warm days, lots of water, and they get big. And whenever they get big, oh my goodness, that's a lot of starch, people. And it's good starch too, really good. Large grain starch takes a long time to digest. It means we're like, okay, for example, potatoes. When you eat a potato, you get a glycemic rush because it's a carbohydrate. Starch breaks down, turns into glucose. Bam, hits your bloodstream. Ouch, that hurt. I hurt my hand earlier today. I shouldn't snap my fingers. Hits your bloodstream. You get a sugar spike. You get a little giddy for a moment, and then you start getting the crash symptoms later. If you're older and a few pounds chunky like I am, you don't want to have big fluctuations in your blood sugar level. In any case, resistant starches, large grain starches, sweet potatoes, canna root, stuff like that. They're great because the starch takes a long time to break down and you get more long-term energy off of it instead of a burst of energy. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Anyway, so we've got these cannas growing, but they don't always overwinter incredibly well here in 7A. Depends upon the winter. Sometimes we have relatively mild winters. Sometimes in the middle of the winter, it's t-shirt and shorts weather and everything's just fine. And then sometimes in the middle of the winter, it's pretty darn cold. Uh, usually it's February that's pretty darn cold. The rest of the time we're kind of okay with. I don't know what kind of winter we're going to have this year, but I do know that in order to have the best chance of having more canna root that I can plant next year, not to mention having it on hand for me to be able to eat whenever I'm feeling hungry and want to have some good filling starch, I need to be able to lift those up and put them away in totes. And the best way is, of course, to get these big 27-gallon tough totes, the big ones that Atwoods does not carry anymore for some reason. I keep going there looking for them because, guys, where's the totes? Where's the totes? They have a smaller one, and that's not the one I'm looking for. I need the big one. The big ones are the ones that I make worm bins out of too, and I want to make another set of worm bins because it's about time that I take the ones I've got and divide them up, and I need more worm bins. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, cannas. These things behind me. I checked to see how much they were selling for because I was kind of curious. And I'm going to have enough next spring that I can start selling them too. They're selling like 2 for $17. It's crazy. Crazy prices. I'll try to do better. I'll try to do better than that for you. I don't know. Might want to be a 3 for $20 come spring. We'll see. And it'll probably have a bulk discount too, like we do with the daylilies. We have the regular prices for daylilies, but then you can also order a whole bunch all at once and get a discount by ordering a whole bunch all at once. And I'm thinking, I don't know, guys, what do you think? Maybe this would be more of a spring thing because the onions are in here and the strawberries are in here. I just kind of made a special exception for Faith. But what do you think? Should I maybe do a special, like a perennial salad starter special, where I get you a dozen onions, a few strawberry plants, some daylily plants, and I get you your lettuce, your onion, and your fruit. Yeah. Maybe put those out at a special discount. You get all of them at the same time. What do you think? Maybe? I mean, I kind of like the idea. I just don't know how many other people would like the idea. Just throwing it out there. Oy. All right. Vicky is asking if I have a particular recommendation for canna lilies for tuber production. Yes. If you can definitely identify which variety of canna you're buying from the nursery, then it's worth your while to pay attention to which one you're getting. Canna indica, otherwise known as Achira or Indian shot. If they say it's Achira or Indian shot, say, is it in fact a canna indica? In other words, is it the actual plant, not a hybrid? They make large tubers. You can grow them for the tubers specifically in Southeast Asia for a long time. The variety behind me with the purplish tops and the greenish bronzish bottoms back there, they look a little bit like Canna musifolia, but it's actually a Canna indica purpurea subcultivar. It has the purplish tint. It got a little bit crossbred somewhere along the way, and now it's got purple in it. That's all. Other than that, it's the same plant, produces the same sized roots. Canna edulis is another name for an edible canna root. They are all edible, mind you. It's just some of the more ornamental ones. They make tiny little tubers like as big as my thumb, which since about maybe an 1/8 inch of that is a hard skin on the outside. That means 1/4 inch of it is the hard skin. So you've got maybe the pinky's worth of starchy tuber that you eat. That's not really worth my time. I mean, if that's all you had, you can still eat it. You won't die. It's not poisonous or anything. It's just not a lot of it's not a lot of starch in there. The ones that I just mentioned, Ashira, Indian shot, Canna edulis, Canna indica, all of those ones make really good large tubers that are large rhizomes that are worth your time to eat. We don't have Menards though. I'm planning on going to Home Depot here pretty soon. That was why it wound up on the list with the lumber requirements that we need for building a woodshed, building out the front as a sunroom. Put all that together, it's gonna be a little bit of a price tag. I don't know if I have enough YouTube cash to pay for it or not. We might have to get creative. Anyway, Jan was asking what canna root tastes like, and that's a great question. Canna tastes an awful lot like potatoes. I mean, really. I mean, you once you've got that peeled off, you cut off a slice of it, you eat it. You know, it's like eating a fresh baked potato. But one thing that's a little bit different about canna and potato in texture is canna has very large starch grains, and it has a fairly large amount of fiber running through the root. Now, this fiber is not stringy like celery. It's a very digestible, chewable fiber. It's not tough and stringy at all. It's just substantive. It's substantive. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's like a potato, but it fills you up better than a potato, if that helps. But it doesn't mash well. You can cut them into slices and fry them. They're pretty good that way. I like them cut up and stir fried and mixed with other vegetables and a little duck egg and onion and garlic and Szechuan pepper and cayenne and stuff like that. Mustard. Yum yum. It's very, very filling. Sassafras is up in Illinois. Illinois. Yeah. What's that? Best thing going is that 11% refund. Oh, is that an Illinois thing? Get a refund. Illinois would be great, wasn't for Chicago. Got all kinds of cool sites out there to visit, just on the other side of the Missouri River from, well, or on the other side of the Mississippi River from Missouri. Lots of cool stuff out there. If only if we could excavate or try to do like some maybe minimum intrusive exploration of some of those mounds in Illinois. Menards has an 11% rebate. I see. Okay, so you buy stuff from Menards, and then you like send in to them and go, "Hey, I purchased this much," and then they send you money back, kind of like that. Elton's having jalapeno dove breast poppers for dinner. We're gonna prep that dove breast, and you cut a couple of slits, and you slide those jalapeno peppers right underneath the skin. Yeah. All right, so where was I at? Okay, here we go. Woodshed, sunroom, totes and peat moss for the canvas. Just explain what the totes and the peat moss for the canvas. That's kind of our big expenditure coming up. Big expenditure coming up over the next couple of days. It's gonna be we're gonna have to get that stuff together. Let's see. We're gonna need to get 1 cord of firewood because it's winter's coming and yeah, I've got fresh from felled trees over here, but it still needs to cure. So we still need to go get some that's already been cut and cured. What was Mary saying? Can't grow Toro here. Uh, oh, okay, okay. She's yeah, talking about colocasia, elephant ears, or taro. It will grow. It will grow. Um, it doesn't grow as well as it does in the tropics, and it doesn't overwinter. So you have to lift it out every year. It likes a nice marshy spot. Oh, speaking of nice marshy spots, I was going to kind of get to that with that garden planting thing. I intend to have a fairly large dedicated marshy spot, and part of the reason is that picture that I had up for the thumbnail. The thumbnail picture shows, yeah, there's the daylily off over here on the right, and a mulberry tree right there, and that's the little pond area, right? They have surrounded by mints and milkweeds and everything stuff. But that big thing in the middle, the thing with all the little fingers sticking up, that's water chestnut. And currently I've got it growing in a basket and some peat moss sitting on top of a cement block at the top of the pond. So it's there providing shade, and the roots are pulling up the nitrates out of the tank. But eventually I'll probably pull that out, replace it with just duckweed across the surface, and maybe some I think next year we'll put in some American water lily for the rest of the work, aquatic plant work. But then what do we do with the water chestnuts? Well, water chestnuts like to grow in a nice marshy area, like shallows, close to the bank, places where it stays moist all the time. So I want to create spaces like that in our garden, just so I will have a spot where that can grow. Of course, those marshy areas are great for cannas. They're great for taro, the colocasia, elephant ears as well. So we'll have the capacity to grow those. I don't know if I'm going to or not. I might have a few, just because they're cool looking. Yes, they're also edible, and some people may want them. You say, I've got acres of dead timber you can have for the cutting. Yeah, you've got 100. That's you're gonna have a lot of dead trees on 100 acres. It's a lot of work. But anyway, yeah, water chestnuts. Water chestnuts are a food that has a large amount of absorbable potassium for those of us that are getting on in years and like to make sure that we have, enough of the appropriate electrolytes in our system. They have potassium for us. Jujube fruit also high in potassium, in case you can't grow bananas. All right. So, need to get wood. This is all the stuff we got to spend money on so far, right? We got to hire a dumpster to clear out our garage and carport. It's full of junk. Most of it's not our junk. Most of it's the junk from the guy who lived here before we ever came to this house. So we've got this old clearing stuff to do. I have a tendency to be a bit of a magpie myself, so I hate throwing things away. The previous owner was like that too. The garage is full of junk. It's full of junk. Really is what it is. It's full of junk. So at some point we just have to rip the band-aid off, go out there, go, okay, we're probably never going to use any of this stuff here. It needs to get out, and what isn't actually useful immediately needs to go out into the dumpster and out of here. So we're going to hire the dumpster, clear out the garage. After that, next stage, we have to hire a surveyor. Right? This list of crazy things that I want to accomplish in the yard, getting to this point, I have to break it down into steps. Hiring a surveyor is one of them, because we don't want to start building garden walls and expending a lot of effort and energy building garden walls, digging out places for fish ponds to go and things like that, and then discover that, oh no, you have to move the wall. Well, now the wall and the pond don't match up as well as they should. You're not going to have the walkway that you needed. I want to make sure that I'm not going to have a surprise later on down the road. Now, I know that the back end of the property on the west side over here, back to the western side, that area is supposed to have an easement. It's about 5 foot wide easement that the power company is supposed to be able to use to run power up to the north of where we're at. Of course, up to the north of where we're at is the bike trail, and then a little piece of county property on the far side of the bike trail. At least I think it's the county that owns it. Mainly, it's just a field full of Johnson grass most of the time. That's what's up there. But supposedly, maybe at some point in the future, they might put in something over there, and they might want to have services, and they might want to run power from this side instead of that side. Why they'd want to do that, I don't know. But the easement is there in any case. So instead of building my garden wall now and finding out that I have to dismantle it later, I want to go ahead and have a survey crew out, make sure that we have the actual property line where it's supposed to be. We shoot the line on the south side of the property, which also is going to need a retaining wall. And we can make sure that that's not someplace that's going to be conflicted later on. See, that has to get done. I have no idea how much that's going to cost. We need to get into that research. Once that's done, we can dismantle the garage and the carport, because the garage has the blocks that we're planning on using to build the garden wall. Let's see where we're going with this. That means we're going to need another dumpster to put all the debris that we can't recycle. All the windows we can use. The windows are still intact. We can use all the cement blocks. We may be able to use some of the timbers for other projects in the future. So there's probably a lot of stuff in the garage that we can still make use of. It's not all going to go into the dumpster, but all the old shingles go in. I imagine all of the decking, all the OSB that was on the roof portion, that's not going to be worth anything. That's all got to go. But some of the 2x4s that are upright, the bones, so to speak, they're upright inside that have been out of the weather, I think those are still going to be okay. All right, then we're going to build the rear garden wall, at least to the point that we have blocks for it. Eventually, I want the thing to be 5 foot tall. Well, it's 8 inches at a time, so 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. So it's what is it? 6 blocks high would be 48 inches, is 4 feet. 7 blocks would be 4 feet 8 inches. 8 blocks would be 5 foot 4 inches. So it'll actually be 5 foot 4 inches tall. There we go. Yep. That's going to take a lot of blocks. I don't think we have enough. Well, I mean, we're going to have a lot in the garage. It's mostly made out of cement blocks. So that'll get us quite a ways down the road. And then, of course, on top of this wall, since we're making it like a very, very large, oversized raised bed, 5 foot tall, I can put all of the clay that I'm getting rid of when we're trying to dig out the area for our fish ponds to go. We're going to have a lot of clay. What I was going to do with that clay. I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to build a catfish pond over here. That's a lot of clay. That's, what was it? Probably 8 by 8 by 4. What is that? 32 by 8. 32 by 8, 64 by 4. 128 times 2. Yeah. 256 256 cubic feet of earth we got to pull out of there. That's a lot of clay. Well, it's got to go somewhere. So we build the wall 8 blocks tall, and then the width is 2 full blocks wide plus a half at the end. Winds up being like 3 foot 4 inches wide. All right. About 3 foot 4 inches wide. So a fairly wide raised bed. And then we put on the top of that, we put all our prickly plants. We put flowering quince up there. We put winged prickly ash up there. Put goji berry up there. All those things that are usually fairly small shrubs, but they think they get the job done. But are nice and prickly, and they don't. Well, it's clay at the bottom. The top 2 feet is still going to be topsoil, just like anywhere else. So we're just going to be moving the clay substrate from one area to another area, and then putting topsoil over at the top, planting up there. Now, on the side that faces inwards, our side, we've got room to plant strawberries, or not strawberries. I mean, I guess we could. We have room to plant tomatoes along there, and the tomatoes will trail down the wall. So this wall that's on the west side, facing you're getting the sunlight from the east, tomatoes will be trailing down that wall. And the wall that's up here on the north side, it faces south, right? So tomatoes trailing down that wall, they're getting all the sunlight coming from this direction. I've got a peach tree that'll be up against that wall there, so it's going to be getting the benefits of shelter from the north wind. Hopefully that'll help it out a bit, and also the thermal mass of the wall. Next to that's a couple other trees, things of this nature. So all of that's going to be enhanced by having the wall there, and of course the clay. Once we remove it from the place where the fish ponds go, that means we can have fish ponds. Fish ponds, like real, honest to goodness. Oh my gosh, we have fish ponds, and Mary was wondering about the trees that are currently in the hedgerow, because we've got hedgerow where one of the wall sections has to go. I wasn't thinking about this when I planted the trees there. I was just thinking I want a hedgerow along this wall, along this side of the side of the fence. That's the only thing I was saying. I want a hedgerow because I know I want a hedgerow. So I started planting hazelnut trees, and it was hazelnut and redbud and hazelnut and Elaeagnus, and I think there's a mimosa in there, and now there's another mimosa in there, and a pecan tree, an air layered pecan tree. So it's a pecan bush. All of that stuff has to either get relocated or I have to find a way to build the wall around it. And I had some thoughts about how I might build the wall around it and include a cavity where there can be a tree growing out of the base of the wall, and it just kind of goes down into a funnel at the top of the wall. Water will collect there for it. It'll be fine. I can even go so far as to connect that to one of the fish ponds over here, kind of like an old cenote. You have the little cave that's collapsed down. Trees are growing out of it, and it's connected to the water system over here. We just do it in reverse. We start out with the tree and then build the cenote around it. And that might be fun. I might actually wind up doing that with one of the redbuds. I don't know for sure yet. It's just wouldn't it be cool sort of thing. But Mary was asking, what about these trees that are in the hedgerow? Can you just build the wall around them slowly, and then as the ground level builds up, the tree builds up. And in the case of the hazelnuts, I mean, yeah, whenever you heap soil up around the base of a hazelnut, it'll have a tendency to produce more suckers from the base. That's kind of a genetic trait of the American hazelnut more than the European one. But the hazelnuts that we have are hybrids. They're not, as far as I know, sterile hybrids, but they are hybrids. Ultimately, they don't like it here in Oklahoma, and I may just phase them out entirely in all actuality. Other than the Yamhill. The Yamhill variety seems to work okay, and we'll keep those growing. Clay keeps plants from growing except for grass. Yeah, shallow rooted stuff. Things that don't mind the clay as much. Yeah. Anyways, I was trying to click on that. Plants with the big taproots like beets are helping. Yeah, amazingly enough, the radishes, daikon radishes are wow. they're really making a transformation. Whenever somebody says, "Yeah, this guy Masanobu Fukuoka," I think I got the guy's name right. He has this thing where he plants all these radishes and stuff there, and he doesn't harvest them, and he lets them grow and then rot, and they improve the soil. It's no joke. It really is no joke. Amazing transformation in clay soil. I mean, even just the first round of radishes that grew and rotted in that soil, I could dig my fingers down into it. It becomes now soft, lots of moisture, dark earth instead of just red clay. And that's just one season. So it's a dramatic transformation. Somebody was asking what kind of fish I was planning on having. Sorry, I don't see it on my chat right now. I don't want to back up for it, but otherwise I'd highlight it. Currently, the only thing we have out that we're leaving out in the weather is goldfish. I tried guppies, but guppies I have to bring inside during the winter, and I don't necessarily want to have to run an alternative indoor aquarium plus the outdoor aquarium plus start plants plus do all kinds of other things. I'm trying to make my life a little bit more simplified. So I've been looking for a fish that I can leave outside that will survive our winter. So that means no tilapia, at least not right now. I might be able to pull it off at a future date with a little bit of planning. It kind of goes into the design of the fish ponds. I want them so that I could possibly grow tilapia in them at a future point. Not saying that I will. It's just a thought. At the moment, I'm thinking I can grow minnows in them, and minnows are bait fish. I've got worms. I've got minnows. Oh, I might have a bait shop going on here, but also feed for catfish. And I want to have a catfish pond where I'm actually specifically growing out catfish. So I have a dedicated pool for raising my minnows in. That's food for the catfish. It's also food for ducks. Ducks will eat minnows too. Lots of protein. The base for all of that entire food chain is duckweed, the lepta minor that I started growing in our little ponds, all of our little kiddie pools that we have that we're keeping trees sub-irrigated in. They've all got lepta in them. They've all got a goldfish in them to keep the mosquitoes down. So the goldfish eats the mosquitoes. If there aren't any mosquitoes for the goldfish to eat, there's not any other aquatic bug larva that's gone in there, then the goldfish has an unlimited supply of duckweed that the goldfish can eat. So the fish is fine swimming around in a shallow little pool with a ring of trees surrounding it that are sitting there getting their nutrients from the goldfish water. But we're going to have to do a different fish, because although the goldfish do this particular task and they are very hardy, they're not necessarily the best food fish. So catfish, and maybe at a point in the future, the backyard ponds, the ones that will be very long and narrow and deep, those ones we might eventually work up to have tilapia in, or at least maybe in one of them. Before I can get to that point, we have to get the wall built. So we have a place to put all that clay that's going to come out from that excavation. So I don't know. We'll be building up the wall with the blocks, and then there will be some accumulation of organic matter in there. But when it comes time to fill up the inside of the wall, they will probably fill up very, very rapidly. Just to answer the question, it's not going to be a slow, gradual thing where we add a little bit, we add a little bit, we add a little bit, because we're going to be excavating all of the depth of the fish pond in one go. We have to. If we don't excavate the depth of the fish pond in one go, then we've got a muddy puddle that we have to deal with, and I don't want to deal with a muddy puddle. So it'll be, bam, we dig the fish pond out. And the dimensions of the fish pond, the part on the inside is probably going to be about 3 foot wide, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3.5. And that way we can have a screen 4 foot across with a piece of polycarbonate sheeting over it. We can build on a frame, like a cold frame, that we can put down over, just in sections over that pond. So whenever winter comes around, we have a cover over the top of the pond, hopefully to keep some of the warmth in, but also to allow that duckweed to continue growing throughout the winter, which means that we don't have to come up with a way to feed the tilapia if we're growing tilapia. If we're growing fathead minnows, the fathead minnows can eat the mosquitoes and aquatic bug larvae and duckweed as well. But ultimately, I'm thinking tilapia is going to be the food fish if I can swing it. Otherwise, catfish works. I'm fine eating. I'm fine eating channel cat or blue cat or whatever kind of catfish we can trap, throw in a pond, feed a bunch of minnows to. It's good. But tilapia, raised the right way, you can raise them on duckweed. Take them out of the pond where they've been eating and put them into a vessel of clear water for about a week. Let them purge themselves completely before you actually cut them open and fillet them and eat them. Some people say, "Hey, I've had tilapia; it tasted horrible." It's like, well, how is it? How is it processed? Did they take the fish out of the water it had been growing in and let it swim around in some clean, clear water for a while before they killed it and gave it to you to eat, or did they just pull it out, chop its head off, cook it, and serve it to you? So anyway, purge your tilapia, tastes good. Unpurged tilapia, it has kind of an off flavor to it. But building cold frames and putting them over a specifically designed fish pond of this nature, where it's nice and deep, so you have lots of volume of water, but it's narrow, so you can cover it easily, and you can prevent evaporation during the summer easily. All those things go together. But first things first, we have to have the place to put all that clay. All right. So what else do we have in here? Oh, kind of an afterthought. Replace our wood stove. I'd like to get a replacement for our wood stove. At some point, I would like to take our old wood stove, this one here. It's serviceable, but we could put that one out in a greenhouse instead of this one. Have a more up-to-date modern wood stove inside the house. I think that might be good. I'm kind of thinking of one with a wider door to open and have access to the inside. The reason is I would like to start making charcoal in the wood stove during the winter. And the way you do that is you start out by establishing a good coal bed. Just take a few pieces, get them lit. Once they're going good, break it up and spread out the coals across the bottom of the floor of your stove. Then you take a restaurant pan, quarter pan, there's stainless steel pans, and you fill it up with sifted wood chips. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, sometime before the buying of replacing a wood stove, I want to get a trommel. I need to figure out where I'm going to put it. All right, so it's going to be somewhere after build woodshed. I need to get a trommel. Okay, I know this seems weird, right? What am I doing? I'm talking about what I want to accomplish. I'm talking about how we're going to get there, what steps need to be taken along the way, and actually talking about it, writing it down. This is part of what you need to do to take dreams and turn them into realities. If you don't talk about it, if you don't write it down, if you don't come up with a flow chart of, okay, I need to do this, 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 this. If you don't break it down into steps that you can accomplish, you can never get anything accomplished. So it's not quite all that silly. I want to get a trommel. A trommel will allow me to take wood chips and sift them in batches, large numbers. I could take a couple shovelfuls of wood chips, put them into the trommel, spin it around, all the fines come out. That's perfect stuff for going into the worm bins. Remember, I was talking about getting more totes. So fine stuff to go into the worm bins. That's great. It's a lot better than taking the hand screen and screening it with this hand compost sister. I've been using it and I love it. It's great. But whenever you're going to be doing a lot of material, large amounts, then it would be nice to have the trommel. So I'm going to add the trommel to our list of equipment that we're going to get. Gary and Robbie, Gardening Easy. Gary has a design that he put together. Beautiful, fits right on his wheelbarrow. They process a lot of wood chips. I love the way this trommel works, and I can buy one just like that. So I'm going to buy one just like that instead of making it from scratch the way Gary did. I'm not the greatest tinker in the world. I can kind of do stuff, but well, yeah, I hang a door and it's a little off. I can make things work kind of, but if I want something to work really well, I'd rather get it from somebody that can make things really well, if you know what I mean. All right, so we get the trommel, use that to sift our wood chips. The fines go to the worms and go to the garden, but the hard stuff, the wood chips that are left, those go for making charcoal. And you can take this quarter pan, a restaurant quarter pan, fill it full of full of wood chips. And uh, Sean at Edible Acres did this and recommended maybe the first few times don't fill it all the way full. You want to get an idea for how much heat you're going to be producing with this thing. So you fill that pan up, you put the lid on it, and that's the important part. The lid has to go on, and you put that on top of the coal bed. Now, as the coal bed heats up all those wood chips inside the pan, they start releasing flammable gases. The smoke starts to come up from underneath there. Whenever it does, all you have to do is make sure that you feed enough air in to get the flammable vapors to ignite. If necessary, you can take a splinter and get it going and touch off those vapors. But once they start burning, your wood stove with the coals at the bottom and a sheet metal pan full of wood chips with the lid over the top of it will start burning around the edge of that lid, and it'll produce heat and charcoal at the same time. Now, eventually, it'll burn the charcoal to ash. So you want to go about an hour or so. This is usually the runtime for how long one of these pans will last. But you go and pull the pan out, replace it with a fresh one. Take the old pan that's still piping hot, put it outside, let it cool off. Whenever it has cooled off, also you could take it and dump it to quench your charcoal too immediately. Might be a good idea. And then cool your pan off. And then you can reload it. And here in Tulsa, wood chips are free. All I have to do is go to the Greenway site and pick them up. So that's free bedding material for my worms, which turns into free soil for my garden, good quality, high organic matter soil. And then I get fuel for my wood stove and charcoal for my garden, for more organic matter for my garden. I'm seeing a lot of upsides here. The stove that I've got right now has a very narrow door. It's a log stove, so you can put fairly large pieces in, but they have to be fairly large long pieces. So the replacement stove, a bit wider, allows me to easily put those metal pans in there. Otherwise, I might want to come up with a different way, perhaps, of converting wood chips into wood gas and fuel for the stove, plus charcoal for me. And yeah, Sass Press saying Paul Wheaton has lots of material on mass rocket stoves. If you watch Paul Wheaton's movie on free heat, you will find our name in the credits. we paid for that movie. It's not the only film I've invested in. I've invested in a couple of films. Let me see. Just talking about those stoves Vicky mentioned. I apparently missed something. Mud and stone oven. Those Adobe ovens are pretty nice. I like Adobe ovens. Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, Mary's been looking at those too, and the little masonry stoves. You have a large thermal mass. The stove is built into it. It heats the mass. The mass heats the house. That's the way this works. Those are pretty good. I was thinking about building something that works as a rocket stove, rocket mass heater that's not attached to the house. Now we might have a covered walkway that goes out there, so that whenever you need to go stoke the furnace or fire it up, you don't have to walk through the snow and you don't have to walk through the ice and the wind and the rain or anything like that to do it. But I don't want it. Ultimately, eventually, I don't want the fire in the house. I want it somewhere outside of the house. I mean, this is the way they do it up north. Instantly. And they have a furnace that they can throw diesel oil or old motor oil or whatever else you got into to burn, and it heats water, and the water heats the house. It's water radiators heat the house. I like the idea of keeping your furnace separate from your house. That way, if there is, for whatever reason, an incident with your furnace, you don't lose your house. It's like, why would you get an electric vehicle and park it in your garage and charge it in your garage? That's a good way to lose your house. So I don't really like burning wood for heat because of that. But the problem is dissipated whenever you move the furnace outside of the house and you use the furnace to make the heat, and then you bring the heat in. Or as what I want to do, you make the heat and you store the heat in the thermal battery. I don't know. Can I show you this thing? I might be able to. Let's see. Present. There we go. I want to show you something. Yeah. I think I actually have to get the picture open first, or I can show this to you. I also have to figure out where I put the picture, which might help. It's not in saved pictures. Cultivation. There we go. That's the one. All right. I'm going to show you something here. Let's see. That's it. All right. You guys see this picture here? This is something I've been working on kind of off and on to get this a little bit larger. This is kind of a schematic. It's kind of a schematic. It is a schematic. At a scale of 1 pixel is a 1/4 inch. So, yeah, approximately. I need to do some more work on this. The lines going in and out need to be adjusted because, once again, after I put it to paper, well, in this case to screen, and was talking about the concept to somebody, something was pointed out to me that made me realize, oh yeah, I do need to change the way the thermal battery operates. But this is a schematic of a thermal battery. Now, the idea here is you dig down into the ground, you create a cavity large enough to accommodate this box that you'll be making in the ground. The inside diameter of the box is 7 foot by 7 foot and 4 foot. The outside dimensions are established by, of course, what the battery is made of. The outer layer is 2 inches of waterproof cement, followed by 1 foot of aerosolized concrete, followed by another 2 inches of waterproof cement. So it's not 7 foot, it's 8 foot 4 inches. So you have 8 foot 4 inches for the dimensions. This gives you enough space to hold, when it's a third of the way full, about 1,000 gallons of water. I don't know if that's going to be enough water or not. In all reality, I'm experimenting with this. This is completely experimental. The idea is this particular box, once you've got water heated, should keep it at a high temperature for a very, very long time. You can apply enough heat on one side of aerosolized concrete to melt steel, and the other side will still be cool to the touch. So if you can imagine this thermal battery buried in the ground with these particular insulative properties, should be able to store hot water for a good long while. And the way you heat the water doesn't matter. It can be heated any kind of way. You can heat it with a furnace, like I was talking about, having a furnace detached from the house outside. Rocket mass heater heats the water, boom, sends it down in there. We can pull it out. The schematic says not shown, but it's not diagrammed anyway. I've got a little, at least I had on one version of this. Oh, there it is. You just can't see it on the scale that it's at. Down here on the, I don't know, can you see my my pointer? Maybe you can see the pointer. Down here, if you can see the pointer on the screen, there is a little line right there that goes up on the out to heater line. Down here at the bottom, there should be a sensor to determine what the temperature is close to the bottom. Close to the bottom, of course, is going to be the cooler part of the storage tank. If the temperature drops down too low, that sensor will inform the pumps to turn on and pull water out from here and send it out to whatever is heating water at the moment. Whatever is heating water at the moment. Now, that could be the furnace. That could also be a solar heater. If we have a nice, bright, sunny day, if there's enough sun to operate a solar heater, then it'll heat up in the solar heater. So that pumps out there, fills up the heating coils around the stove, or fills up the heating coils at the solar heater. Once that water reaches a high enough temperature that it is turning to steam, the one-way check valve that are on this out to heater line don't allow that steam to come back down this way. It will instead go, because it would have to go through the pump also, it will instead go in from generator. This line here that I've got which for some reason, in from here, this line out here that I've got, which is in bright red. Now, this is where I needed to make a change because I wasn't thinking about this all the way through. Whenever this is coming in from the heater, whether that's the solar heater, using a reflector and something like Vanda Black on coils to just get that water all the way up to boiling inside our tubing at the solar collector, is probably going to be in the form of steam. So I want this line to go all the way down to the bottom, or at least maybe to the midway point, if you can see where the pointer is, where that not quite blue, but a little bit more purple in between the blue and the pink. We want that steam to go to that point so it heats up the water and doesn't accumulate at the top where that salmon color is. Up here at the top, also not shown, by this little tiny line that you probably can't see, but I'm running the pointer up and down of it. That will be a pressure relief valve, and we'll need to figure out how many PSI we want that to pop at. Basically, if for some reason our other fail-safes don't stop it from happening and we keep on pumping in superheated water into the thermal battery to the point where it's got steam just coming off at the top of it, I don't want it to build up a large amount of pressure that could cause damage to the pumps or other infrastructure or cause the vessel itself to burst. So we'll need a pressure relief valve there at the top just to vent steam should it get too hot. And that will go out to somewhere where it won't run a risk of causing anybody a steam burn. All right. Then, of course, we have on the opposite side, we've got two lines, one in from the generator done in purple. Actually, that one's probably exactly the way it needs to be. It's going to be unpressurized water just being dumped back into the tank. That can go over the top. It'll mix. If it's cold enough, it'll settle towards the bottom. Otherwise, it'll be heated by the steam coming in from the heater. The other line is this red line here going out to the generator. Probably this one will be also here somewhere around, well, I don't know, it might be off the cold side as well. We want it to be down deep enough that even if we're running low on water, it's still pulling water out and going out to the generator. The generator, of course, we're talking about will be a thermoelectric generator system. You may see, I'm going to stop the share. You may have seen something like this being marketed to go along with your wood stove. And we'll probably have a small version of that indoors attached to the wood stove. Those will put out somewhere around 1.5 kilowatt hours. Not a whole lot, but it is enough to charge up a battery. The thing I have in mind will be enough to power a house. So anyway, or at least power the things that we need to have powered. Once again, if we're going to have pools for fish, we're going to need aeration. We're going to need to be able to circulate water. I'm going to want to have lights on, not only in the yard to make it look nice and for security, but also we're going to have lights in the house. And LED bulbs running off a 12 volt provide all the light you could possibly want. We don't necessarily have to have AC to have LED lights. I mean, all of our lights right now indoors, they're that I'm using, they're all LEDs, but they can run off of DC power just as easily as AC. They'll last longer that way too. Usually on an LED light bulb, the thing that goes out is the diode that turns your alternating current into direct current so that the LED can light up. The LED in those bulbs that you screw in at your home, those use direct current. And the diode inside the base of it, that's the only thing that's actually getting hot. The LED, whenever it's running, it doesn't get hot at all. And if it was running off of DC, you wouldn't be generating excess heat at all. You wouldn't be generating the waste heat. You would just be getting light. So we use our heat for power. We don't waste it. We get our light from the LEDs. We use a thermoelectric generator, no moving parts to generate electricity, store it in batteries. That's the idea. All the stuff that's going up or going on, and what we are in the middle of doing in the middle of fall. Hopefully we won't have a too severe winter and I can get more of the things on this list accomplished. But we'll take you along and show you what we have going. Show you what we have going on. The videos I've got coming up in this next week, I have no idea really at the moment what they're going to look like. No idea. I've been shooting footage whenever I can and working a lot. And at some point I'm going to sit down and try to edit something out of that footage. I might even I might even gasp. Use something like Opus Cut or something to take that raw footage and produce something. Or I don't know. I could go on Fiverr or something and maybe have people put together videos where we've got a lot of really great footage, just not a lot of time for editing at the moment. Um, but that's where we're at. Lots of tasty vegetables to come. Daikon radishes and sugar beets and pumpkins are going like gangbusters now. The vines are growing a foot or two a day. The fruit's filling out. Most of the pumpkins are not the classic Seminole pumpkin shape, and that like acorn shape. We have a few. We have a few. Uh, but the ones I'm more interested in, they look more like a butternut squash. They're nice and long. And I know that they've got the seed cavity here at one end, right? And there's going to be seeds. But that really long neck that they've got, long, thick neck that they've got, that's nothing but meat. That's nothing but squash meat. And it's going to be loaded with vitamins and minerals. And it's going to be tasty and yummy. And I think those are the ones I'm going to save the seeds for. So my Seminole pumpkins are probably not going to wind up looking like Seminole pumpkins eventually. Who knows? But they might still come out looking like that. But they're going to be more of a super squash. That's what we're going for. Super squash. And I lost track of the conversation. Oh, okay. Joe was talking about being Mexican, but growing up in Moab, Utah. Yeah. All right. Oh. Struck a uranium vein in Utah. Then married a Mormon lady. Became a prospector. Isn't that something? I'm wondering if Greg's going to become a prospector. You guys know Green Greg Allison. He's out there in Arizona right now, running around, visiting his 40-acre properties, not letting us know exactly where he's at, teasing it just a little bit. But yeah, he's let on that there's some interesting minerals out there and other things. I just would love to see some footage of that place because it sounds pretty cool. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and I don't know why I'm still drinking my coffee. I'm going to go ahead and do some writing. Oh shoot! Before I go, I'm going to let you know what's coming up here in the very near future. I'm going to be re-uploading the Halloween special from last year, The Bone. We'll be re-uploading it without any preamble, so it's just going to be the radio play, just the story, all the sound effects, everything else. We might not have mid-roll ads in it. I don't know. I think we'll just slap on the pre-rolls, leave off the mid-rolls. That way, you're going to have an ad at the beginning, but once you got through the ad, pause it, turn the lights out, put it on the screen so everybody can watch it, and then sit down, relax, and let the story hypnotize you so that you can see the ghost of the little boy like I did. I was rather shocked with that story. I watched the video, lights out, like kind of like I recommend to get the full scary effect, and while the lights flickering on the face of the pumpkin, you can see what looks like a face staring out of the darkness at you, looking out of the darkness at you. It's the most uncanny thing. Didn't intend for it to happen. It's just the way it came out. But we'll be releasing that. And I've got a new story. New year, new story. Nope, it's not a reading of Edgar Allan Poe. It is my own original short story. And it plays upon The Bone. We have the same narrator telling the story. Just a little bit later on, this is going to be after the events that occur in The Bone. Or is it actually before? Well, you'll be the judge of that because it becomes a prequel. and we tell you a little bit more about the strange goings on in this uncanny valley with a tale entitled The Crow Mother. And that will be coming out for Halloween. So fun stuff to look forward to. I may stay up a little bit later tonight working on. I'm on page number 3. The Bone was 5 pages altogether, and this one I'm on page 3, and it's looking like it's going to be at least 5, maybe 6 pages. So about a similar length story, and of course it's not exactly a horror story. It's in the more unsettling, uncanny, was it supernatural or am I just imagining things type story, which are always the most fun. It's always the most fun whenever you don't see the monster, you just know that it's there. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found the video informative or entertaining. If you did, you know what to do. I'll catch you next time. Until then, get out there, get growing.